Happy last Monday of the 2019-2020 school year, everyone. This is Miss Skorka during reading workshop, and I just wanted to say congratulations on making it to the final Monday. Today we're going to do a review about power and perspective. You are masters about power and perspective at this point. And so our teaching point is we are going to use our knowledge of power and perspective in the fiction stories that we're reading to get to know our characters better. You know the drill. You know what power is. You know what perspective is. And I thought this graphic was kind of cool, and it really displays perspective well. Here you have two characters. They're kind of looking like they're arguing. This guy is saying there are 4 logs, and this guy is saying there's 3. And actually, neither of them are wrong. Where this guy is standing, the picture looks like there's 4. Look, 1, 2, 3, 4. But where this guy is saying, no, 3, he's seeing 1, 2, 3. This is one of those optical illusion pictures, and I thought it described perspective well because from this guy's point of view or perspective, he feels like there's 3 logs, and this guy feels like there's 4, and neither of them are wrong based on what they're experiencing. So I thought that was a kind of funny little way to start off today's activities. So let's get started and see what we have in store for us today. Today we're going to read a fun story that I took from a previous state test. It's a fiction story, and then you're going to answer a RACE, R-A-C-E, question in your portfolio assignments. But before we begin the story, I want to review 2 vocabulary words that you may or may not know. The first vocabulary word is kite. Some of you might know what this is, but a lot of us who live in New York City have never flown a kite before, and a lot of us in New York City have never seen many kites being flown. Maybe in some parks or if you've been lucky enough to take a trip to the beach, but not all of us have had that experience. So a kite is like a piece of fabric that's very light in weight, and it's attached to a long string, if you see here. So at the other end of the string is usually a person holding it. And when it's windy at the beach or at the park, the wind gets underneath the piece of fabric, and it helps the fabric float. So usually kites look something like this. This is a cartoon one. Sometimes people have fun with it. They put long, fun ribbons at the end to make it look beautiful as it's flying. I'm sure some of you have seen this, but honestly, some of us, we're trapped in our houses during this time. It's probably been a while since we've seen some kites flying. So that's what a kite is, and the story is about a kite, so that was important. The next word they use that I don't think you'll know is called a biplane. And remember from our word study, bi, whoops, we didn't want to do that. Bi means 2. And we all know what an airplane is, right? So a biplane is an airplane that was developed and made a long time ago. That has 2 sets of wings. See? 1, 2. So here's a picture of a biplane in real life, and here's a picture of a biplane that's a kite. So this is important for you to remember for the story we're about to read. And now I think it's time to get started reading. This story is called The Shark Kite by Jane McAdams. Oh no, said Stella, as the string of her shark kite tangled with the string of a biplane kite. Remember, tangled means all up in knots, the string's in knots. The biplane dove toward the ground, the grinning shark spiraling behind it. I feel like a spider in a web, she said, frowning as the tangled strings drifted down around her. Ugh, the 2 kites collided, got tangled, and everything's a mess. I think that shark kite has too many strings, said the owner of the biplane kite as he untangled his string from Stella's. My kite doesn't have too many strings, said Stella. It's a grown-up's kite. That's why it's complicated to fly. You should really try flying a paper plate, said Stella's friend Robbie. Stella looked at Robbie's kite. He had a decorated plate with stickers and a long yellow streamer and attached a string to it. Right now, his paper plate was flying so high that Stella could hardly see it. "Your shark kite hasn't flown as high as my paper plate all day," said Robbie, wiping his nose on his sleeve. "Paper plates are for babies," said Stella. She felt like being mean because her shark kite could hardly fly. Just then, Stella noticed a fluffy pink jellyfish kite sailing overhead, bobbing a little as it passed Robbie's paper plate. Stella wished she could trade her shark for that jellyfish. Stella wound the string of her fallen kite around its spool. A spool is like it's like a cylinder, a round thing. Sort of if you think of the inside of a toilet paper roll or a paper towel roll, that a string can go around so that the string doesn't get tangled up. It's a good way to store long string. Then, holding the string near the shark's belly, she started running. If she could catch a tiny breeze, her kite would fly. "Stella, it's almost time to go," called Stella's mother from a park bench in the shade. "We have to pick up your sister at the pool." "Come on, shark, fly," Stella said as she tossed the kite into a little puff of wind. For a moment, the shark looked as if it was swimming up in the sky. Then it dove back down toward the grass, teeth and all. "Maybe it's too heavy," said Robbie. Poor Robbie, he's just trying to be nice. He tugged lightly on the string of his paper plate, which dipped gently in the air. "It's not heavier than that one," said Stella. She pointed at an enormous monster truck kite gliding past Robbie's paper plate. The monster truck had big black wings. "I bet that kite weighs more than you do, Robbie," said Stella. Robbie squinted at the sky. "No, it doesn't. I weigh 40 pounds, he said. "Stella, your sister is waiting," her mother called again. "One more try, Mom," yelled Stella, running with the shark. This time, the shark kept its nose pointed downward the whole time, refusing to fly at all. Stella tripped over the shark's fin and fell into the dirt. "Come on, brush yourself off, Stella," said her mother. "We're leaving." "You can take my paper plate if you want," said Robbie. "At least you'll get to fly something today." He looked at Stella hopefully. Stella sighed. Robbie's paper plate was nothing like the fancy shark she had imagined flying, but it did fly pretty high. "Okay," Stella agreed with a shrug. She took Robbie's string and felt the strong, steady pull of the kite dancing at its end. She gave a slight tug. The paper plate swirled and floated even higher on the breeze. Stella smiled at Robbie. "You're right," she said. "Paper plates do make good kites." "You can keep it," said Robbie. "I'll make another one next weekend." "Want to borrow the shark then?" asked Stella, handing the tangle of strings and the grinning shark to Robbie. "Maybe you can make it fly." "Hey, thanks," he said. "See you next weekend, Stella." Stella and her mother walked toward the car. Stella held the string of her new kite, and the paper plate sailed along above them, its yellow streamer wriggling through the air. "What happened to your shark kite?" asked Stella's mother. "Robbie and I swapped for a while," Stella replied. As Stella rode in the car, she held on to the paper plate's string and watched it bob next to her window. "I bet that big old shark couldn't do this," she laughed. Today for your portfolio assignment, as I said at the beginning of this lesson, you're going to answer a question in an entire paragraph using RACECE. We have gone over in the last 4 weeks how to create a proper RACE, R-A-C-E paragraph, okay? And so I want you to do your best using 2 text details to support your answer. The question is, how did Stella's perspective change from the beginning to the end of the story? Okay, you can rewatch this video and pause the story wherever you want so that you can get your text evidence. Just make sure you use details from the text and your own explanations that say how the detail you chose connects to your answer. Have fun. I hope you enjoyed the story. Happy Monday, everyone.